correctly with the correct amount.
D20 Radio, where gamers roll.
www.d20radio.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to the How We Roll Gaming podcast. How's everybody doing? Nick, how you doing?
Surviving the time change.
Robert, in the words of Joey Tribbiani, how you doing?
Doing good so far. Nice days of work. Was able to adjust to the time change pretty well. Other than that, pretty good.
I'm glad you've been able to. It's been kicking my butt.
Oh, yeah, Monday was bad, but after about Wednesday, my body was like, okay, this is the new rhythm.
I know it's not based on anything we can control, but on the Sunday, when it's a Sunday one, that's when you get to hit it. That's when everyone shows. That Monday,
it's always on Sunday, Nick.
Yeah,
the day people mostly can manage.
Mm-hmm.
I have not really done much gaming related since the last time we recorded, other than of course played in our games, and I've been prepping for session 1 of the Star Trek campaign that I'm kicking off this weekend.
I'm sure you're going to have plenty of lens flares for all of us.
I keep telling you, Nick, this is not in the JJ verse.
Yeah, we've just been going through the horrors of actually trying to schedule things out and trying not to let it kill our group.
Yep, and I think I have convinced Nick to sit down with me, let me put together like basically a calendar and plan stuff out a couple of months ahead of time.
Yeah, that'd be useful.
It's crazy talk, I know. Crazy talk. And I wouldn't be surprised if doing this will
finish him.
I felt like playing with the soundboard this episode.
You seem to be having fun.
It's a fun soundboard.
What say, before we dive in, let's take a moment to talk about another great show here on the D20 Radio Network, the Story Told podcast. Now, with the relatively new year, following a group of awesome rotating guest hosts, Logan has welcomed new regular co-host Lex to the show.
Oh, really? Yes, that is true.
Yes.
And in addition to interviews with talented content creators, they share reviews of exciting new games and old favorites too, all in admiration of the greatest hobby in the world. In the most recent episode, they take a look at the field guide to floral dragons from Hit Point Press and lean into its beautiful, potentially cozy vibes.
Take a listen to the Story Told. You can find them at the storytoldpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, links in the notes.
Of course, links in the notes. What say we talk about something that has happened to every GM at some time or another? We always talk about how the players are going to zig when you expect them to zag, and vice versa. Yeah, what happens when those little guys won't get on the path at all? What happens when they won't follow whatever loose tracks that you have and totally derail your session, if not your campaign?
Well, obviously, you punish them at... No, wait, that's a bad GM.
That's a bad GM. That's a bad GM. And, you know, I wish that I had thought, since I'm playing with the soundboard, I wish I had thought to load up. I mentioned Joey Tribbiani earlier. Should have channeled my inner Ross and loaded up a clip of Pivot!
Yes, and it is true. If a story goes another direction, you can still keep the structure of what you had, but then at times you also got to say, okay, we ball.
Yes. Or some others say, we do it live.
Yeah, we just got... You can't even fix it in post. You got to do it live.
let's start with the idea that now here's going to be something that a lot of GMs don't want to admit. Yes, starting a campaign does have a little bit of railroad tracks.
Yep, you set up the premise, you put the players on the train, and you send them down the tracks, and you hope that they will go down the path that you're kind of expecting that everybody kind of agreed to.
And again, it can be as simple as like meet a tavern, meet guy with quest, guy sends you on quest. That's still a railroad.
Yeah, or my kind of go-to thing is you all are in prison, and some event gets you out of prison, and now you just gotta take the fact that you're either fugitives or you basically have to claw all your life back from nothing.
AKA the Todd Howard Bethesda,
Yes.
the model.
Or if you want to be spot on, which honestly I'm surprised none of us have done this yet. Your prologue or your session 0.5 actually happens on a literal train.
Or I'm going to give a small shout out here to our friends GM Chris and Nate at his crew over at Tabletop Empire. Last week they did a an actual play live stream that ended up at about 13 hours from
Yeah, it was
start to
long.
finish.
Yeah.
It was good.
I'm not even halfway through watching it.
But it's
Nate
good.
edited out half of or all of the breaks and everything and got it cut down to about 9.5, 10 hours.
Okay, that's a
But
good ratio between play and not.
Yeah. Considering when they started, yeah.
the setup there, and this is an adventure that Chris has available to download out on the D20 Radio website. The players wake up, or not wake up, but the players start the session in the middle of a vault, clearly in the middle of what is a heist, with no memory of who they are or how they got there.
A big ol' what? What is this? Where am I? Who are you people?
Yeah, you talk about we joke about the you're probably wondering how I got into this mess, record scratch beginning of movies and adapting that to campaigns sometimes. That's exactly what this was. Except they're all wondering how they got into that situation.
You're all wondering how I got here. Well, so am I.
Yeah, we don't have time for that.
It's like that indie game I remember. It's the No Time to Explain. Like the guy literally is
Yeah.
trying to tell you the lore, and then just like a hand grabs him and pulls him away, and she's like, "Well, you gotta go."
let me explain. No, there is no time. Let me sum up.
But the main factor is like no matter how experienced or inexperienced a GM you are, there's always going to be a track you want to set down.
Right. Even if you're setting up a sandbox, it would since I'm running session 0 of my Star Trek campaign Sunday, not really much in the way of spoilers here because it is Star Trek. The players are going to be Starfleet officers on a starship, and we're going to pick up with the launch of the ship. It's just like the start of a Star Trek series.
Again, thank you for allowing me to play Q. It's very, very nice of you.
Yeah, I didn't do that, and you're not playing Q. Fun little aside. The last time I started playing in a Star Trek campaign, which was many, many, many years ago, it was not the current Modifius system. It was a previous one. And Lauren and I talked about it on our Expectations and Licensed RPGs episode.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the players wanted to play a human Q, a depowered Q, and the GM let him. And I'm like, are you sure that's a good idea? Because given this player likes to min max and likes to try to make his character the main character.
Hey, are you sure about that?
You sure about this? Because he's going to find a way to get his powers back. But it only lasted one session.
Silver linings?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, and that was, I mentioned this in that episode, but since neither of you were here, it wasn't a flaw of the GM or the campaign premise or anything like that. It was a flaw of the system and the GM taking one of the suggestions of the system to heart, which was to avoid any kind of power trips among the players or any kind of imbalance, since your standard Star Trek game is going to have a hierarchical structure, an actual command structure. Don't let a PC be the captain, have an NPC be the captain. And it ended up being several hours of us role playing, pushing the buttons that the NPC captain told us to push. It just
Fun.
it didn't, yeah, it didn't work out. And as we saw when we played the quick start of Star Trek Adventures, the current system, having a PC captain works just fine.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, it really does.
More to the point, they're going to be set out. There's a premise. Given the nature of Star Trek, each session I'm going to come in with a hook and a mission that the crew has been assigned to for the session, but it's still entirely possible for that kind of thing to go off the rails. I can plan each session, but it might not survive first contact with the players. The players might decide to do something when they beam down to this planet that I never considered.
It's entirely
True.
true.
Very true.
You may decide to throw the prime directive into the nearest waste bin and become the conquerors of this planet.
Yes, and that's when a GM, especially a first time GM, has to confront the truth that we've told in a previous episode, is that you are telling a story with the players. You're not telling a story to the players.
Right.
There is a sort of a, you could argue that there is a social contract that they are accepting that you are setting the scenario, and therefore the tracks, they should at least take a peek at them.
Yeah, but the inverse is that as well, is that if they decide to do something else, then you have to reformat. You can still keep your major plot points, but you just have to work them in a different way.
I have dealt with this kind of thing. This is something that I've just started doing in the time since I've started playing with what has become our current group, since I started playing in games in Nick's group and started running games in the FFG system after listening to, once again, the Order 66 podcast on the D20 Radio Network, and a former podcast regarding Genesis, the Dice Pool, and also GM Chris and GM Hooley's the Forge podcast about Genesis. And that is, I no longer sit down for the most part and say, here is the story for this session. Here's plot point A, plot point B, plot point C, plot point C. I come in with anywhere from 2 to 4 major story beats
Mm-hmm.
that I want to hit in that session. Using Star Wars as an example, I may have in mind that this session takes place on Tatooine, but if the players don't go to Tatooine, unless it is vital that those story beats happen on Tatooine, in which case I don't give them the opportunity to go any place but Tatooine. I start them off on Tatooine. Those beats can happen anywhere, and wherever the players decide to go, that's where they happen.
Exactly. And going back to Star Wars, that's the nice thing about a universe set in space, is that if you have plot points, you can just make them happen in space somewhere. Doesn't even matter
Yeah,
where.
exactly.
Just like
Exactly.
you are caught by a ship and X happens. That can happen anywhere in the galaxy. Anywhere from Tatooine to Coruscant to Hoth. Who cares?
Yeah. It can be anywhere. It can, and if it has to happen in a certain location, that's where you start the players off. You don't let them wander off of the beaten path.
Yes, or a thing I like to do is when I do plot points, I have it centered around an NPC or some type of group because then I have the mobility to move them wherever the players are.
Right.
Now, in a
Right.
similar vein, you can also use the fact if you aren't in space, if you are on a travel map, a world map, then there is even if they are going off the beaten trail that you wanted to make, there still is a area that you can see. Okay, they're traveling this way. I just have to factor in that travel down this direction based on what they're using for travel and how they're moving.
And now, depending on what it is that you're wanting to happen, what a given story beat is, if it needs to happen in a certain place or a certain way or with certain people, you can always also have the NPCs nudge them in that direction.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, it's like, oh,
you
you're looking for MacGuffin A. Well, last I heard, it's in there.
yeah, it's like, oh, you're looking for that? Oh, yeah, it was here on Cloud City, but somebody came and took it, and they took it to Tatooine.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, Boba Fett took it and brought it to Jabba for a payday.
To those who played the Mario games, like your princess is another castle.
Or
Just less aggravating.
the first few sessions of our Walking Dead campaign, you guys were kind of dancing around the outskirts of the Las Vegas Strip, which is where
You want.
all of the main stuff was happening.
The meat
So
and potatoes.
things just kept happening to you all that were more or less driving you to the strip.
Yeah, we were like, maybe it's a little too dangerous to just be out here on our own. Maybe we do need the safety of
We need
the
to blend
walls and the
in with the
strip.
masses. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and so we were like, and then it's kind of like the group players and non-player characters like basically like took a vote: do we go to the strip or not? And then the AIs won it.
It basically
yeah,
felt, but it did feel natural that all the decisions, like all the uh, the guidelines lines were pushing us towards there. But
Yeah,
it
and it
didn't
even
feel
worked,
like
and it
it.
even worked for the interplayer conflict because even when we got to the strip, like my player was like, okay, we can make this work. I got a job. I can raise my niece, who another player character plays, Betsy. I can raise her in the strip while Dante's first
I
character
died.
was like, hey, while Dante's first character was like, I've seen this before. This is just some tyrant playing Empire. We need to leave. And my character, by the was like, no, you stop jumping at shadows. Just live.
of your two characters, which one is still alive?
Mine.
How Dante's character die?
I killed him. For good reasons, though.
Yes. No, it was. This comes up most episodes, and I once again just have to take my hat off to all of you as a wonderful group of players because I know that I can trust all of you. That even when it does get to a situation like that where one PC is about to, let's be frank, murder another, I knew all I had to do was not even stop, pause the game for a second and take the temperature of everybody in the room. It's like, hey, we all see where this is going, right? Are we good with it?
And we were just like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Even
Like,
Dante's
okay,
character who was dying was like, yeah. He's like, he even
okay.
said, like, if he didn't do it, I was going to ask him to do it. So,
It's like, okay, resume.
Yep.
So,
And I'll
but
say that again. Like, even though I have died the most in the campaign, at no point did I feel like, no, this is not unfair. It's either a combination of poor decisions or just really bad rules.
And in a type of universe like that where it's brutal, like we're very squishy, dying is somewhat expected.
yeah,
So like
yeah,
at no
it's
point
part
of
of this.
feeling like it's either a bad decision on my character's part, or at least one of them was like just wow, that roll really went
I mean,
bad.
how many times have we joked that my character's been truthful, he's opened up, and then like, oh, okay, you're gonna die next.
Yeah, if we had an actual writer's room, if this was an actual writer's room at AMC, yeah, you'd be the next one gone, man.
Yeah.
But that's why he's never invited to the post games. So the talking dead.
Yes,
Yeah, you
yes,
say that,
that's
but
why
you also joke I'm basically male Carol, and she never died. So
this is true. This is true. You, Carol just kept getting trauma dumped.
I've got a few of that.
Mhm.
It's going to be a real trauma dump if Betsy characters dies.
Oh
That
no,
would be the big trauma dump.
I think that would depress every. I think that would destroy everybody.
I mean, Coral died, so
Yep.
and the
Yeah,
show went.
and the other probably sort of afterwards.
Where was he? Not in the house. But
Say that damn else.
there's plenty of ways that that campaign could derail, but it's also very sandboxy, so it's tough to derail. Really, the only way that the premise could be derailed is if everyone up and said, "You know what? Screw this place. We're leaving Las Vegas."
Yeah, basically it's like Las Vegas, nah. Let's go to Denver.
Yeah. In which case, I would have to research Denver and come up
Pretty
with
much.
things that happen along the way and all
That's
Meanwhile,
a good thing about
we all just get stoned. It's like, dude.
and that's also a good thing with our group is that we know each other and we also know Daryl. He chose Las Vegas because one, he's been there. Two, he has a relative that actually lives there right now. He's been living there for a
well,
long time. And so we know he's put a lot of thought into this. It would be really a shame if we tried to go somewhere else.
that was one of the points when the owner of one of the game stores around here was telling me the premise of a Walking Dead game, which is I told him flat out, I'm stealing this, and I did.
And he was like, go for it.
It was the same premise. While I have never seen him GM, I know from spending plenty of time talking to him that our GMing styles and approaches are going to be vastly different. So I know that even if it's the same premise, we're not running the same game.
Exactly. But I'm just stating, we know you chose the place, you researched it, you even got that map printed out to be like, we're gonna stay.
Really nice map.
We're gonna leave.
I mean, to be fair, the core rulebook does recommend having a map of the greater area that you're in,
Yeah, and it does.
so that you can.
Mhm.
So, but it
But even the
just so
game's
happens
implying
since
like, hey, stay in this map for now.
since I do have family there and have been there multiple times since I was 7 years old, yeah, I do have that ability to lend a little bit of realistic flavor, even though we're in a post apocalyptic world that basically Las Vegas, the status of Las Vegas, the landmarks and everything froze about, 13 years before now.
Yeah.
So I have to kind of keep that in mind, when I am grilling my dad for information. I was like, now remember, this is 2013. I know that this wasn't there yet.
And we're all going to be able to visit Area 51, right?
I mean, Groom Lake is, a short airplane ride away.
Yeah. Let's all go to Area 51. I want to see the alien.
But yeah, barring an entire like universe shift, like you're going an entirely different place than anyone expected, a GM can always pivot. May not be graceful. Don't ever expect you can just gracefully like, okay, I've thought of an entirely new storyline we can go over here. Definitely don't do that. You're gonna churn your brain.
I did sort of have to pivot. Going back to Star Wars, the first Star Wars campaign that I ran in the FFG system. My pivoting started from my initial plan was to follow a process that the original Star Wars RPG that I played in ages ago in the West End system would follow suit, in that there would be one or two other GMs to rotate with. So I had a PC. It quickly became clear that I was going to be the sole GM for it. And I was like, I'm not going to be that person that has a GM PC. How do I get this character off of the board? So I came up with a way to get that character off of the board. Due to scheduling issues, some of the players, about half of the group, if not a little more, began to filter out. Fortunately, around that same time, several other people were like, hey, that campaign that you're running, do you have seats? Yes, I do. And so new characters came in. Since my intended PC was the owner of the group's ship, he and the other characters that left, since they left around the same time, I was about to, okay, they went off scouting for a new job, and something must have gone horribly wrong because you haven't heard back from them. But oh, look, this new PC that has joined the group has a ship. So now you have a ship again. I intentionally then wrote in that there had been kind of a landed home base on Naboo for them. I literally wiped that off the map in an Imperial attack. So
Ah.
they were much more on the go.
And they can even add stakes, like, oh, all that stuff you had in your base is gone now. So a
Yep.
little more up the stakes now, because now you have to rebuild.
And spoiler alert, I will be pivoting
Shut up!
that campaign again here in a couple of months when I relaunch it. We'll see who does come back, but I know that there will be a lot of new characters in it because Robert, you didn't play in it before. Nick, you didn't play in it before. Betsy didn't play in it before. Lauren didn't play in it before. If Dante's interested, Dante didn't play in it before. But Stephanie will be back, bringing her character back. Xander, our son, may or may not come back and bring his character back.
Oh yeah, he exists.
Doug and Brian may or may not come back. I hope Brian does come back because I never got to finish up the subplot with his character. So that will be fun to do.
That is a way that you'll have to change, but sometimes a derailment can happen. Not that they've went off on a different direction. Maybe they introduced a new set of tracks. Because I'm remembering,
Yes.
even with our Star Wars motif, Nick, you ran that limited campaign for the created adventure, The Jewel of Yavin.
Yes.
And
It again, it started as like since you guys are starting off as like more experienced characters and to sort of give that classic heist vibe, I allowed you all to have like your own sort of like interconnective, like sort of pseudo connections to each other. And through
yes,
natural banter and everything, the mystique, the mythos of the Corellian job sort
it's
of
popped up
built
so
in the
much
background.
that you and Daryl have decided, okay, the Corellia job's got to be the prequel, and then there's got to be a sequel after this.
Yep. And so I will be running the Corellian job, and then together, Nick and I will run the sequel.
Have a whole lot of vague ideas of what happened, mostly what happened in the Corellian
Yeah,
job.
we just introduced tidbits. We know that all the named Star Wars characters are there somehow. We know it involved a job, and we know the ending already. The job failed spectacularly.
Right. And, mumble, 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 Vader, mumble, mumble, mumble.
Something dark side.
I even said my character dances with Darth Vader, and somehow Daryl has to make that happen.
something that leads into the events of a campaign that didn't have a backstory, now has a backstory that's going to be backfilled. But that's more of it's more setting tracks behind than actually setting the tracks forward.
But our actions set up the tracks forward for the sequel.
Yeah.
Oh, and Nick and I have some just next level out there ideas for the sequel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Truck is ready for it as long as he gets to go fast.
I think we've kind of been dancing around the biggest example that we've had of a derailed campaign.
True, because
That
I wanted to save it until now.
Well, yes, we were wanting to save it, but Nick, I'm going to turn the floor over to you and tell us about the Seekers of the Ashen Crown.
Yes, tell us.
Yes. The Seekers of the Ashen Crown, a D&D 4th edition module meant for first level to progress quickly to 4th to 5th level adventurers in a rather simple adventure. A quick way to play with the at the moment in vogue 5th edition rules and get some players that you haven't delved into D&D or have not played D&D in a while. Give it roughly maybe a few weeks of fun adventuring.
Yeah.
What's the goal of the Seekers of the Ashen Crown, Nick?
Yeah, what are we doing?
What's the basic premise?
The premise is basically a group of basic level adventurers are meant to clear out a pest infestation, but then stumble upon one of a series of artifacts that will create a powerful artifact of ancient elven kind that many factions are trying to take.
So yeah, the beginning worked pretty well.
So, how many artifacts are there, Nick?
5.
How many players did we have?
5.
And what happens if all 5 of these artifacts are brought together?
Well,
Yeah,
with the
what
proper
happens?
ritual, they will create the acid crown, and it will be one big, super powerful thing that could be either a doomsday weapon or a great bargaining chip in a world that's in the middle of basically a magical Cold War.
Doomsday weapon in the Cold War.
There wouldn't happen to be powerful factions that want these artifacts to form the
several.
ritual.
And weren't we hired by one?
By one, then found out that was being infiltrated by another one. Then they were spying on you by another one, and it just kept on compounding on in of itself.
Several of them wanted us to get these artifacts and bring all 5 of them to them for their own purposes, didn't they?
Yes.
Classic mercenary contract.
Robert, what did our characters decide?
We said, nah, none of them are getting this. So we were like,
We don't trust these guys.
Yeah, and they have to have all 5 to actually put the crown together. And there's
1, 2,
5
3,
of
4, 5
us.
of us.
So what if each of us just take one of these artifacts and never approaches each other again?
We walk off our different ways, never ever see one another again, and disappear into the world.
Yeah, and that was the initial plan, except we fell into this like basement thing with a beholder, and when we killed it, there was just all these barrels of good alcohol. And we were just like, what can we do with this, Daryl?
We could make a bar.
Yeah, we can make a tavern. But we probably shouldn't do it in the very city we got hired on this side of the map.
Because hearing it, there's all the factions that know you have.
And we're just like, didn't Nick tell us on the very far other end of the map there were these bunch of islands led by a bunch of pirates?
More importantly, before we came to that decision, Nick, had it become clear to you that we did not want to follow this particular pre-written campaign's tracks
to its end?
Admittedly, the writing was on the wall halfway through when you guys asked your druid to turn into a whale and escape the ship because you were correctly guessing that.
Yeah, were we wrong? Yeah.
So what'd you do, Nick?
I kept on introducing the fact that, well, you're in the area where the stuff is, so that means you don't want them to get it, so you should get it anyways. But I didn't stop you from once you got it from changing that path at all.
Well, you kind of fast-tracked us getting to that
Yeah.
major goal of getting the artifacts.
Yeah, you were like, oh, there's 4 more. Well, oh look, all 4 of them are in this town.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, but here is how I have always interpreted at least part of your thought process. You trusted us to know that you wanted to run a D&D campaign with us, and that when we decided to be our normal chaos gremlin selves and say, nah, we're not going to play this the way that Watsy wrote it, that you trusted us to say, well, it would be kind of a jerk move if here at the end of like session 3 we accomplished the goal and then said, okay, we have all 5 parts, see you never, and
Yeah, it's
all
like,
walked
bye,
5 separate
everybody.
ways. And so you trusted us to, despite having that plan, since we had gotten all 5 pieces so quickly, to stay together so we weren't being jerks and completely ruining your game.
At this point, and this is truly a case of like the rails were gone at that point. You skipped several quote unquote dungeons. You accomplished a couple tasks that were necessary, even a bonus encounter on an airship. But it's like the main factor was you got the items. Now, what you should be doing is putting them together, making the crown, and then making your choice.
Nah.
Now
Nah.
that's where you firmly throw the last rail into off the map.
That's where we firmly, blew up. We didn't just go off the tracks, we blew up the tracks.
Yeah, no, it wasn't even just narratively. We also saw mechanically, it's like, well, these artifacts give us some pretty good boosts apart. If we put it together, only one person can have it. So, no, I want to keep my boost.
This is true. They each of the items and they all attuned to. They all have to be attuned. You each attune to each part of the Ashen Crown, and it was like as part of your plan to be like your initial plan to fly off to wherever you want to go to, so that it never comes back. It's like, well, it's attuned to me. They got to kill me to get it.
Yeah, it's like we basically would have left, and then that would have created like a stereotypical movie, like a bad guy is chasing all these holders down to gain their pieces, and some brave hero has to stop him.
Yep. So if we were looking at this as a movie, that would be the end of the first movie, where we've gotten the parts and we've walked off and never ever see each other again.
We each have the Infinity Stone, but now the second movie, Thanos is going around finding us and taking the stones.
Yes, we each have an Infinity Stone, and Thanos starts coming after us, and so one of us shows up and says like, hey, big purple guy with a prune chin is after us, we need to get the band back together.
All right, I'm in.
But basically, somewhere around the moment you beat up the beholder with the alcohol was when you came up with the ultimate pivot.
I don't think it's gonna pivot anymore. You think?
You have the ritual, and I think you still have the ritual scroll, but you just
Oh yeah,
I think you left it
Stephanie
at
does. We just
Yeah,
haven't done anything with
As
it.
the ritual scroll.
So at any moment you could, not that you have any reason to use the Ashen Crown, to fuse the Ashen Crown back together.
Hey, maybe we'll have a chance in the future if things go to 12 in our danger.
If things get, I mean, we already know that things are going pear-shaped, and we are, as I did in a session recently, to borrow a phrase from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, we are suddenly having to learn the plural of the word apocalypse.
Yes, and that could be a situation where, like, okay, maybe we do have to bring this thing together. Which could even be a comedic moment if an NPC is like, you've had it this entire time.
But the main factor was, rather than split off, end the campaign like that, you decided like,
Let's go into
Ball.
business together.
and thusly the train on the metaphorical lightning rail flipped off the track, spun down a hill onto a different one.
So, Nick, I have a question.
Yes.
Was this narrative train the one in The Fugitive that went off the tracks, or the one in Back to the Future Part 3 that went flying off the end of an uncompleted track in flames and exploded.
It's closer to the Back to the Future 3, in that again,
Right on.
this was meant to be like, this was meant to end with just like, oh, big boss fight as you stop the big bad from trying to make the crown, and then maybe you have a moral compunction, like, do we give the crown to morally ambiguous faction number 1 or through 5?
Yeah, we're not
Who
going to do
knows
that.
what happens?
We chose
didn't
option
get to
C.
that point.
Run away.
You chose option. You chose option G in terms
Run
of like
away.
the amount of.
Option G. Get out.
Yeah, just go.
And thus the seeker of the Ashen Crown perished, and the hopeless situation warriors were born.
There were moments that I did have to bring those elements back. You did eventually fight the big bad.
Oh yeah, I still remember that. It's that lady who's like, I have been waiting for you guys for months.
I was like, all right, she's under leveled to fight you now, but she's still. I need to get her off the board.
And we did.
And we did, yes.
And you even
And
used
now-
her to introduce a possible more danger in the future.
Yeah, it's an escalating campaign that, admittedly, was never my intention. But I'm glad, mainly because I trusted, as you said, Daryl, my players to do something unique. And as I saw what you guys were doing, it's like, I see the potential. I see the different tracks that we can do. I dug the characters. I dug the concepts. And it's like, okay, so I may have come in this with like, all right, here's a limited campaign. This would be like a good couple weeks of just some rolling D&D. Oh, there's some richness here. There's characters, there's story, there's stuff that you guys are still questioning. You still don't know what's going on with the rabbit for some reason. You guys are really obsessed with
There is a secret there. We
There's
will
a secret
uncover it.
And Nick, at this point, even if you never meant for there to be a secret for the rabbit, you have to come up with a secret for the rabbit.
Yeah,
because
come on.
otherwise we will be disappointed and it will be anticlimactic.
That rabbit must be the key to stopping the Armageddon.
Yes.
But yes, now it's just Daryl's character and Artificer very interested in war crimes. Betsy's character is Shifter, who still has not shifted for us, so we have no idea what their form is. We've got Stephanie, the druid that kind of just wants to be left alone.
Druid
Xander,
that transforms, but is also a changeling that also transforms.
it's like double on double. Then we got Xander, the cleric, who has been recently engaged against his will.
We got Dante, the bard spy,
We've got Lawrence, the exploding hamster.
sorcerer.
Who knows where that came from? And then we have my character, an orc fighter who's basically traumatized himself and he cannot feel a thing physically.
And decided to put golden eye in place of his eye, one of his eyes,
Yep.
and now has
I actually
And-
went on the rail for you that time, okay?
Oh, honestly, I did not expect anyone to put the eye in their eye.
Well, there's another derail for you.
But what is like?
Man.
Who puts the eye in their eye?
Hey, I just touched it. That's when you said, okay, it's now in your eye now. It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
I am sorely disappointed with myself that until hearing you say the word just now, Nick, that I have not done a GoldenEye pun or pulled up the theme song.
I was expecting that. We're like 5 sessions into this whole eye thing.
You know, I am disappointed with myself.
Hey, it just means my relationship with the Black Dragon that's through this golden eye has diverted the attention to it. Also,
And again,
because I can finally feel, because of this dragon and this eye, that I've honestly become basically Balder from God of War when he can feel things again. He's just so ecstatic, even if it's pain.
You have a hate relationship with the dragon.
Yes. And it's going to be explored once we actually get to them.
All of this is leading up to a grander, larger plot that you guys are piecing together, seeing parts of it. Where all the parts fall are still up in the air, but it's like from what came from like, okay, I didn't want to do a big campaign. I just wanted to do a little bit of D&D. Became a ongoing going campaign that I am very happy with and glad that you all are enjoying.
Yes. Now we have to face Armageddon as well as pay our lease in our tavern.
Yes.
And we ironically have a ton of top shelf beverages, but not a lot of bottom shelf beverages. So we're a very expensive tavern.
And you're still trying to figure out to create the quote unquote, I still have it in my notes, the beer elemental.
We have ways.
I have several concepts so far. I've come up with several concepts. I'm not sure how any of it's going to work, but we'll figure it out once we
It's
get
like
there.
we have like 1,000-year-old elven ale, and yeah, it's a hard time for us finding normal beer. I don't get it.
To give everyone a peek behind the curtain, the beer elemental stems from one of our Havoc Brigade games at Gamer Nation Con with Steve from Me and Steve Talk RPGs.
Yes. And that's the one universe where there are no rails. Havoc Brigade is just you're building it as you go. There's a sentence and then you build off that.
Yes, and we accidentally created a beer elemental there, and once we got this crystal with an air elemental in Hopeless Situation Warriors, it's like, oh, we got to do the beer elemental. We got to do the beer elemental bit. And
our mascot and our top shelf.
I've still been working on it. I swear. Every so often I'm like, I go back through the Hopeless Situation Warrior notes, like in bold letters, figure out beer elemental, and I have like 7 different like combinations of like spells and ideas. I just need to figure out which one I'm going to use.
I remember when we first mentioned that, just the look that you got on your face, like, why am I friends with these people?
I was like, on the one hand, that's absurd. On the other hand, wait,
it can work.
I remember just jotting down and like taking notes a minute, like the second, like after the minute of like, did you just propose? I was like, wait, this might work if I tweak a little bit. If I look, if I this,
I can work with this.
This can work.
It's crazy, but it just might work.
But yes, but this goes to show that a derail can lead your group into one of the most remarkable experiences ever.
We've brought up multiple times about the Hopeless Situation Warriors, the multiple legal cases they've been involved in.
Yes, we got the Hopeless Situation Warriors, our tavern, your Hopeless Solutions, our side business, the Hopeless Situation Lawyers. We got all of it.
The sorrowful dragons they've held through crises. The half dragon who is the son of two dragons, but didn't become a dragon of any kind.
The number of war crimes we've gathered and are now working on getting a Warforged Colossus for Artificer, waiting for Xander's character to finally meet his fiance, while the while going
him back.
All the while going back to this city that we initially started in Seekers of the Ashen Crown, to rob a university.
Yep, and all while stemming off the apocalypse. Multiple apocalypse.
All while stemming off the apocalypse, hiring a werebear, killing a vampire, and bringing some stuff to a dragon's astronomy tower, which we then learned of said moon. And then the dragon was like, "Nope, I'm leaving," and he just dipped.
It's a campaign of convenience, and it's basically a truncated version of a campaign that I had dreamt of a long time ago, but never found anyone to actually be interested in. And I sort of truncated it and made it work in this ad hoc campaign that never intended to be one.
Yes. But hey, not knowing what's going to happen or being derailed can even be fun because I know we floated the idea and one day we'll probably do it of just in whatever universe, probably Star Wars. We'll run a campaign to where maybe Nick starts GMing one session, get to an endpoint, then it goes to Daryl, who's just going to do it in whatever direction he wants to go through it. Then it's me, this whole round robin, who knows where it's going to go.
Honestly, it is an idea.
I say we revisit that this summer.
I haven't.
Is
Agreed.
Agreed.
That sounds like
It's
a fun that sounds like a fun summer thing to do.
yeah.
The How We Roll Gaming Challenge.
Yes.
I think the only limit would be like we just said like, all right, it goes between either this many players are gonna run it or this many sessions. It's like we see how it ends up.
Yep, and
We'll
we can
workshop it.
invite anyone else who's been GMing for us, GMing
Yeah.
with us to GM as well.
True. Yes.
Yes, rails are important. You must always start with rails. And part of its success zero is how railroady you want things to be or how sandboxy. But you gotta admit, players will always sort of skip the rails, step over them, or completely just throw the thing over, but then it rewrites itself onto a new rail.
That's why we like to say have a framework or a skeleton. Don't create the entire body, just create a skeleton that can handle when players zig here, zag here, hopscotch over there, and then dive bomb over here.
Yeah, my earliest GM self would be at a total loss with our current group because I would sit down and the first game that I GM'd in was DC Heroes, and I think I've mentioned this in an episode before. When I would sit down to plan out a session that I was going to be running, I wrote it out like a full module, like what Mayfair was publishing for DC Heroes. And so if it was our current group, I would be at a loss because in the second scene, the second encounter, you all would be going completely off of the rails that I had put down, and I would have no contingency plan for getting anywhere back near the rails.
Oh, I used to do big dramatic villain monologues, but none of you. I know enough players to be like, we're gonna hit him when he's monologuing.
Exactly. We're going to hit you while you're monologuing.
So it's like, all right then.
Still write out the monologue.
I still write them out because they're fun,
Oh, yeah, they're totally fun. And there can be ways to include them.
and I get a couple of lines out in them. But I used to be like, okay, gonna do the monologue. Like, oh wait, they hit me. It's like, all right then, we're gonna see how. That's how we're playing it.
Nick, in some cross podcast synergy, part of the problem with us writing villain monologues like that is in our current group, our characters are meta narrative savvy, they're genre savvy for the genre that they're in. And that's when and I'm guilty of doing this as a player in either of your campaigns too. As the villain starts monologuing, we all start chiming in and riffing and like, okay, are you done now? Because this is the part where you're the bad guy and you keep talking and you monologue, but we're ready to just fight. So bring it on. Kind of bringing the cross synergy. We are characters in a Scream movie, like we talked about just
Yeah.
this latest Casual Nerdity episode.
And honestly, that's kind of how I sort of play. There's dire stakes in hopeless situation warriors, but there's moments where it's like, yeah, it's like, okay, here's a little bit of like incredible levity.
Yeah, we can have comedic moments and then dramatic moments, fun moments while living in the past. It's the whole thing.
I do love how you guys were terrified of my twist on the basilisk. That one eye turned people young, the other one turned them old.
It's just like, oh.
Yeah, that was just horrible. That was awful.
And we were just like, kill it with fire.
Kill it with fire, kill it with ice, kill it with Metal
Lightning.
can kill it with anything.
You guys took cover and you made sure, like, don't look at it.
Said, don't look at it. Take out its eyes. Which in the campaign universe of Eberron, that can actually happen because the Mornland is just chaos. Just all chaos.
Magic plus everything is like 10 times worse.
I mean, didn't we even get a guy out of the Mornland? He was like a half blob creature.
Yep.
When we found out he was like an 18-year-old who just tripped in there.
Mm-hmm. And that's just on the periphery. You haven't even entered it.
Well, weird entering a place with a bunch of screaming faces. So
Mm-hmm.
There's many different ways to deal with the plot being derailed, most of which, as a GM, you can ultimately use to your advantage. Because the thing to keep in mind, when your players your players aren't trying or necessarily even knowingly derailing your story.
yeah, because they
They
don't know
are
how
taking
you're thinking.
they're taking the story seeds that you're giving them, the elements that have been presented to them, and they're running with what engages them. And so take that as a cue. Oh, I totally didn't plan that, but they're really, really into that. They're digging that storyline. So that's completely the opposite of where I was planning for this to go. But if that's what they want to do, they're going to have more fun if I focus on that than if I force them back over here to what I wanted to do.
Exactly. The worst thing you can do is to force them back onto a railroad. But sometimes, and again, it's honestly more rare. I've only maybe seen it once in my entire time as a GM, where it's like, okay, they get lost in the sauce, and it's like they need to be like, all right, here's the track back onto where to go.
Yeah, you give them a switchback that leads them back to the tracks.
yes.
But most of the times, it's a path to like be good.
Yeah, you can even have the fortuitous thing of like, oh, well, I was planning this. But what you just said is so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going back to Walking Dead and the plot element that we've talked about, where
Mhm.
Dante tried to come up with some kind of not really
Vaccine.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a vaccine to forestall the walkers. Okay, let me run with this because this could get worse. This could get so much worse because you
Which
opened
we've
this
already
can of worms.
established. It's like, oh, living, breathing zombies. Great.
Yep. Living, breathing zombies who are just they're awful. They're frightening. They're terrifying.
And you love it.
And I love it. And they haven't shown back up yet. But let me tell you, in that time since we established that he had done that, I've had plenty of time to think of how
Yeah.
they work.
Yeah, you even put some like end scenes of like, and then this scene happens where something's happening in the behind the scenes.
I know how they work now. And so
Great.
I'm just
yeah.
waiting for the right time for them to be reintroduced.
Yeah. But how you handle a derail is the difference between what happened with Solo Situation Warriors or getting bogged down on a space station for a month.
Yeah.
Yes. Actually, sadly, that wasn't a derailment.
That was an intention. But
That's a whole nother episode.
yeah.
True.
That's a whole nother episode. As GM, let's kind of put it this way. We won't linger on it because I think it is worth its own episode. But what I'm thinking is this is something that, knowing the GM, great person, and knowing the kinds of fiction and elements in games that interested him, I understand as a GM, on paper this was an awesome idea. On paper this was, ooh, they're racing against the clock because they have to get back home with the parts, but the realities of how long it's going to take to load everything and get everything cleared to be loaded and get off the station can't be changed. So all of this other stuff can happen on the station while they're there. The problem is, as the GM, you have to read the room.
The narrative flow was not working.
If your players are visibly becoming disenchanted and frustrated with this element, then you have to pivot.
Can't believe that didn't work.
I know, me neither. I mean, you had a sketch.
Oh, you know what? What did you mean when you said pivot?
When a rather normal, the pretty calm fella seems to start to be like a bit more agitated. It's like, hey, dude, take a breather.
It's just like, get me out of here. Get me out of here.
I would say, and we'll put a pin in that for a future episode.
Mhm.
I think just
There's
it hadn't
something to
occurred
say
to me
about
until
it.
we started talking about it. There is a good episode to be had, I think, in discussing reading the room as a GM
Mm-hmm.
and
Very
making
true,
sure
very
that your
true.
players are having fun. So I am going to put this in our notes.
Yes. So, yeah, that's what you can do with the derailment. And
Yep.
players don't derail just to hurt the GM. Unless it's Nick, then it's a requirement.
Yes.
So much that we
Yes,
put it
and-
in our session 0 document.
Yes,
I mean,
we have a
I mean, it's been a while since you've gotten there used to be a kind of a running a competition to see what is known as the broken Nick face.
Used to be.
It's
What do
a
you
lot
mean
more
used to
difficult.
be? We'll see.
It's a lot more difficult.
we just haven't tried as hard lately.
We just need to find a way that causes you to have to fully skip a session because of something we did.
I mean, I know something that I can do that would just, totally break Nick. And for those listening on audio, I am holding up a calculator. And now I'm sliding the calculator back down.
Put away.
That gives me an idea. In Star Wars, you can play a droid. What if I just play a sentient calculator?
I mean, that's basically what a droid is.
True.
If you get right down to it.
Yeah, a droid accountant.
Oh, you know what else you could play in a game?
Squirrel.
No.
True.
No.
I mean, you are going to eventually do your Marvel heroes, so.
Squirrel.
Well, there's no Marvel hero that's a squirrel.
Nick, there is Squirrel Girl and Tippy Toe. I will not have this Squirrel Girl erasure.
Cool. Damn it.
Yes.
And what is Tippy Toe, Nick?
Squirrel.
What was that?
Squirrel.
Squirrel.
And if we do a Green Lantern campaign, are you going to be Chip? Chip is not a squirrel. Chip is an alien equivalent of a chipmunk, not a squirrel.
This is true.
Or better, we have to do. Remember at Game of Nation Con, you played the game where you were all wizard familiars.
Familiar.
So all the familiars are squirrels.
Yes.
But I want to be a snake.
No. The snake has been replaced with a
Squirrel.
I think you guys won.
I think we've met our quota, Daryl.
Yes, we segued into bullying Nick without even trying. We didn't even call it. We just slid into it.
You just drifted rails.
We just did a good pivot.
Here we go, pivot!
Nick is now curled up in a fetal position as he records. So it's time to say, check out our at howwerollgaming.com. And there you'll find information about our current campaigns, our podcast archive, and links to our merch store and all of our social media.
Yes, you can also directly support the show through Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/howwerollgaming and you'll see our different membership tiers starting at just $2 a month. With special recognition on our Discord server and higher tiers giving you on-air credit and discounts on our merch store.
Finally, if you have any questions you'd like us to answer, topics you want us to cover, and even submit your own RPG Glory story, shoot us an email at podcast@howwerollgaming.com.
Thank you everyone for listening. I'm sorry, Nick. I didn't mean to traumatize you so so harshly
I
in our
can
Pick
feel the
on Nick
will
segment.
seeping out of his voice.
Yes, well, he can't be a Green Lantern now.
No, and the yellow's my color, anyways.
Until next time, we hope you will join us again. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we hope to see you next time. As always, I'm Daryl,
I'm Nick.
Robert.
and this is how we roll.